Corey here. Right now it is 10:12 p.m. It is August the 2nd, 2017. And right now I'm just going to make this video really quick. I wanted to share something with you guys that I experienced today, and I really think you guys might like the story. It's been a while since I made the last video. Yeah, it's been some time, and I just want to talk about something that, have you guys ever had something that you had done for a while and you really enjoyed it? You got fairly good at it, and then something just happened. You end up stopping. You fell off the track for some time. You end up losing focus, and then you stop moving in that direction, and then you find yourself not as happy as you were. And then when you find yourself trying to pick back up on it again, you're not as good as you were. You just get more frustrated. Look, I've been there. We've all been there. We all have those things that we truly enjoy doing and that we lose track of. We all have those times where we lose ourselves. I want to share a story with you, something that happened with me this year, the beginning of this year. For some of you may know, some of you may not, that I'm a personal trainer. I've been a trainer for about 2 years now. I went to school for it. I got certified, and I started working at LA Fitness. I got some experience there. I worked there for about 8 months. Then I moved over to Fit Body Boot Camp. I started training boot camp, and I did that for about two months, 2.5 at the most. And then after that, I started doing training at 24 Hour Fitness. And in between all of that, I was actually training independently on my own too. And independently is actually what I'm still doing right now. For those of you who are fitness trainers, I can say that independent contracting, from just my 2 years of experience already, is definitely the way to go. Corporate is not going to take care of you as an employee. LA Fitness doesn't have any break rooms. All they talk about is sales, and making money. They don't talk about how we're going to make a difference. They don't talk about how you had helped somebody achieve their fitness goals. And that's really what it's all about. And that's really, if you're in the fitness game, you can't expect to be 100% as you can't be as 100% as you could be, because the limitations the corporate will put on you. If you really want to be that how can you say, to create something out of it entirely yourself, to be able to provide the best equipment, to be able to provide the right information, and to work with your clients directly. Your clients need to work with you through a corporation. When you own it independently and you work with your client independently, it's between you two directly. So if you're a trainer, that's definitely a way to go. Like I said, as my experience from the last 2 years of working through corporations, it's one of those careers that doing it yourself it's not going to be easy, but hey, the rewards are there, and it's definitely worth it, especially in that line of work. Aside from that, while I was training at 24 Hour Fitness, I came across a business opportunity. I was at my buddy's house one night, and a friend of his came over, and he was talking about a business known as Life Leadership. And it sounded pretty interesting that night, and we had told him that, hey, we'll go check it out. Why not? And at the time, I didn't have much more to do. I just got out of work. I was with my friend, and we were hanging out, and I didn't have anything to do that Tuesday night, so I told him I was going to be there, so I'm going to be there. So I ended up being there, and watching the person doing the presentation really sparked some interest in me. The fact that he was up there speaking in front of a crowd of people, and I didn't know it about myself at the time. It's something that I had just realized recently, that I'm a speaker, and I realized that I really do come to life when I speak, and I speak about something that I believe in. A good buddy of mine, he helped me to figure that out, and I'll explain that to you a little bit later. We'll move up to that point. Let's go ahead. I'm forward. What do you call it? Forwarding? Fast forwarding? I'm too far ahead a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a step back in in the middle of January, mid-January, about 2 weeks after I started working at 24 Hour Fitness, I joined Life Leadership. I went there for 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I'd seen about 2 to 3 meetings before I figured, like, yeah, I'm gonna join. I'm gonna try this out, and I learned a ton. All due respect to the company, I learned a ton from them. But after a while, I found out that it wasn't something I wanted to do. And I also want to bring up a point that, have you guys ever seen yourself going along a path and you got some insight as to who you're going to become if you actually chase down that path? I had received something, and you know what? We've talked about insight in the Master Key System, and we have the Master Key System uploaded and reviewed with all of you guys. If you haven't seen it or if you haven't heard it, I strongly, strongly encourage you to go through that book with us. It's a book upon higher consciousness and about mind power. And he gives scientific observations and how do you say, practices, practical ways that we could develop our own mental power. Like concentration and keeping our thoughts held along a specific lines. Keeping our thoughts and our consciousness focused on one specific thing to make it a reality. And at that time I had already made a lot of my videos. I had already had the Master Key up here and put on, and Life Leadership was about information. Since we are in the information age, one thing about it is that since we are in the information age, we don't need to have to go through Life Leadership to get the information. It's a great company, but it's kind of outdated. That would have been something that would have been truly amazing if it was out 20 years earlier, prior to this. And I think that is one reason why I did notice that there was really only older people there, because we did grow up in a different time between the older generation. We grew up in the technology age. I grew up around a computer. I grew up knowing how to use a computer. I grew up playing video games. I grew up doing all of that stuff. Our parents didn't exactly grow up doing those things. They were out doing things and all that and whatnot. And being a millennial, things are pretty tough. Simon Sinek, I'm not going to get too much into it, but he was talking about millennials, and we really do need help as millennials, because we did grow up in a time to where they called it failed parenting, because even their parents failed to parent them, because they go back to talking about the greatest generation that ever lived, which was the generation during World War II, that I guess things were so bad at that time that they said to themselves that my kids are not going to live through anything like this. And they robbed their kids of the struggle of life. Like, I'm not going to allow my kids to have to do something or go through something like this. I'm going to make sure that they have the most comfort living possible. And that's exactly what happened. And then that generation grew up a little bit more, not as tough as that tough generation. And then the generation after them grew up not as tough either. And then likewise with the generation after that. It's like we're becoming a generation of people that aren't as strong as we're supposed to be, because I can say as a millennial, there's a lot of things that I didn't understand. There's a lot of things I don't understand. That's honestly one reason why I tried so hard to do better for myself, and I encourage you and do my best to inspire everyone else to do the same, because it's not easy, especially in this world where a lot of people are struggling and a lot of things are happening. There's a big struggle going on out there today. We're literally out there fighting for our own life, and that's one thing that we need to keep ourselves in mind, that every day when we wake up out of that bed, it's a fight for our life. It really is. We have to fight for our life. We have to fight for our health. We have to fight for our mind, our physique. When you go down the street and there's 5 different fast food places that you could buy for $1 that are literally have no nutrition benefits for you. That's the battle that we have to go through, especially when we're working at a 9 to 5 and we're hardly getting paid, the necessities or as much as we need compared to the cost of living going up, taxes going up, inflation. That's all. And not to mention, I know Trump talks about all the time, but China manipulating their currency, devaluing the currency is not a good thing to do. And that is one thing I learned through life leadership. And one thing that I do want to share with you guys that I had found today at the gym today. Now, I don't know how many of you know Johnny Skywalker. He's a bodybuilder, and he's been training for the last 4.5 years. The reason I know is because I met him today, and I can't remember if I was sharing it right here or if I was sharing it in the video I was making before this. I was making a video before this on the camera because I don't exactly like looking at myself while I'm speaking on here, but the batteries had died and I didn't have time to charge it, and I didn't want to spend any more time or wait any bit longer because I need to get this out now. But anyway, I had found this this fortune cookie, and the reason I didn't think this would really take this long to explain what it is I'm trying to get across, or this story that I'm sharing with you guys, this experience that I've had, this life experience that I've had, and anyway, aside from all that, with life leadership, I didn't end up going with it. It wasn't something I wanted to do, and I found that it wasn't making me happy. I really wasn't as happy doing something like that. I enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it. And after that, when I was talking to my friend Omar, he made me realize that I'm a speaker and that I'm supposed to speak, and that when I really have something that I believe in, that I speak about, that I really come to life. And I've really learned that about myself recently. After he told me that day, that was really the biggest thing why I wanted to do life leadership, was because I had seen the person up there speaking. One thing with you too, creator, if there's that one thing, that one thing that you always see yourself doing, I just want to share with you right now, it might not always be through something that was already made. Sometimes it comes from you. Sometimes you have to create it yourself. 100% crafted from your own mind. Because like they say, when you want something done right, you have to do it yourself, right? And if you want to create that life that you truly want to live, it is going to have to be something we need to do ourselves. And we need to remember and never forget that the way that is done is by becoming the best possible version of ourselves. Because remember, the second principle of the 7 principles of the Hermetic Hermes Trismegistus. Principle number 2, the law of correspondence, as within, so without. Whatever is happening within us is going to express itself outside of us. And what did we also learn about this universal mind that we've learned through the Master Key System and all these other books on consciousness that we've read? That when we have a thought in our mind, that thought, thinking, is a vibratory activity. When we think, our thoughts are literally creating a vibration. Our mind is creating a vibration within this ether, this infinite energy, this substance from which everything was created. This mind, God, if you will, God, this consciousness, this universal presence that created all within itself, moves all within itself, and at the same time holds everything in its place. We're all one with this energy, and when we learn how to manifest the powers that we naturally have and to use them consciously towards the direction of that which we want to go, then there will be nothing that we can't do. And that's not something that we were all taught. That's nothing none of us was taught. You don't go to school and they don't have written on the whiteboard you could do anything or be anything that you want to be. They don't teach us any of that stuff. That's something we have to figure out for ourselves. And you know what, creator? There is so much that you can do. And me being depressed these last 2 to 3 months have been the absolute most depressing months. One of the most depressing times of my life. And this guy I met today, Johnny Skywalker, he's a bodybuilder, and all respects to him, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind me sharing his story, because regardless of how great we all are, of how great we all become in that specific thing we choose to become, and which is so amazing about the time we live in, that we could specifically become great at one thing, in multiple things. We could really, really bloom and make a difference in that area. That's one thing that's truly amazing. And this guy, we were talking, and even him, this year, he hasn't really been so much on it. In all honesty, he was open with me, and he was telling me about it, and it's the same thing here. It's so weird, because I was able to connect with him on that. Not only do we have fitness as that connection, but we're both going through something similar. The fact that we both fell off of that track, and we're working to get ourselves back on it. And today, after finally going back there, and it's so amazing that I'm a firm believer in those moments that God really does truly exist. Of all the things that could have happened, this thing ended up happening, and it happened in perfect synchronicity. That's how I know that that's where I'm supposed to be. And this fortune that I wanted to share with you, that I have found, it says you're not a failure because you didn't make it. You're a success because you tried. And that changed my whole mindset. Because of all the things that I could have picked up, of anything that it could have said, that's exactly what it had to say. Because sometimes we could feel like a failure. And sometimes we could feel that we don't have that strength to get back up. But I gotta tell you that there is absolutely nothing that's going to keep you held down. Because I could say from personal experience, even going through that depression, I couldn't stand being there. You can't stand being there, and you're going to get back up regardless. And you're going to tell yourself that this wasn't what I had planned for my life. And that's one of the things that is really truly great about it, because it really gets to the point where you look deep within yourself and you make those decisions for you, and you learn to fight, because the fight to be fought is not out there, it's in here. It's in here. Fighting to think correctly, fighting to keep your thoughts focused, fighting to keep your mind focused, fighting to remove distractions, fighting to not eat at that fast food place. Eventually it gets easier. The struggle, eventually, it gets easier because you get stronger, and eventually it's not going to feel like a fight anymore, because it's going to be natural. It's going to be you. It's going to be you. And then you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, wow, there's 5 of these fast food places around here. None of them faze me. You'll get to that point. You know what? Less perfection, more authenticity, because nobody's perfect. Yes, we can strive to be perfect, because perfection can never be reached. And that is why we can continually strive for it. That is also why there is no limit to consciousness. And there is no limit to how amazing that individual is that you see yourself as. There are no limits. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. It's already going to be about 20 minutes. And you know what, Corey? Good job today. Good job for making this video, because remember, it's not don't forget about yourself. These videos really aren't for anybody else. They're for you. Because they have gotten you through a time to where you really needed them, and they really helped you to express yourself. That's one thing that I really love about having my own channel on YouTube. If you end up watching this video, you really do watch it all to the end. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe. I just want to say, let's continue to work on ourselves. Personally, I'm 23 years old. I don't know how old you are who's viewing this. I just want to say, if you have a dream, man, if you have that vision, cultivate it. Remember, it's a development, it's an unfoldment, and that's something that I needed to remember. That once we do find ourselves on the floor and we find that we can't really get back up, that hey, we really can, and that even if we start going the other way, we just need to get ourselves up and on the right track and start moving in the right direction again. And know that no matter what, the time's gonna pass, and as we take that step each day, that left foot forward and the right foot next, and then the left and the right, and as we keep walking, as we keep doing what we need to do, 5 years from now is gonna pass no matter what. And ending with this, creator, cultivate insight, practice on it. Get the Master Key System. It's an amazing book. And insight, when there is something, a road that may catch your interest, and you say, hey, I'm going to go check this place out, at least for a little bit, see what it's about. You're going to see a lot about it, within 2 months, I'll say. You really see the environment and how it really is. And you know what, then you'll start to develop that image, that insight, and especially as you learn more about where you're really at. And you'll see yourself. And then once you have that vision, who you see yourself as, then you can really determine, is this who I really want to be? Is this who I want to become? Because I guarantee you, the farther you get on something, the farther you'll be able to see it. And if that is something that you really would enjoy doing, then by all means, go for it. And if not, always remember that you're not a failure because you didn't do it. You're a success because you had tried. So that being said, you guys, thank you so much for your time. Remember, creator, that we are the lights of the world, you and me, and together we can make a difference. And if you do find yourself being negative, you just gotta tell yourself to just shut up. And always remember that regardless of what type of mindset you get in, that you're always going to be the light, no matter what. Because as consciousness, as mind, we are the light of the world. And that in a world full of darkness, we have the power to turn it into light. And just know that, creator, if you have darkness, just know that you could transmute that into light. We're all fighting our own darkness. We're all fighting towards our own light. With that being said, don't forget, nobody's perfect. A lot more authenticity with everything that you do. And keep moving forward. I'll see you on the other side of the galaxy. Have a good night.